Eat that frog. Chapter 3. Apply the 80-20 rule to everything. Brian Tracy begins Chapter 3 with a timeless quote from Goethe. We always have time enough, if we will, but use it aright. This chapter introduces one of the most powerful principles in time and life management, the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. Named after Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who first described it in 1895, this principle reveals a fascinating pattern. In most areas of life, a small portion of your efforts leads to the majority of your results. Pareto initially observed that 20% of the people in society held 80% of the wealth and influence, but he soon realized this principle applied to almost everything, including economics, business, productivity, and personal effectiveness. For example, 20% of your activities produce 80% of your results. 20% of your customers generate 80% of your sales. 20% of your products or services contribute to 80% of your profits. And most importantly for you, 20% of your tasks deliver 80% of the value of what you do. So, if you have 10 items on your to-do list, just 2 of those tasks are likely more valuable than the other 8 combined. Here's where it gets interesting. Even though all 10 tasks may take roughly the same amount of time, the value they create can vary dramatically. 1 or 2 tasks could produce 5 to 10 times the results of the others. And those high-value tasks, the ones that really move the needle, are your frogs. They are the ones you should be focusing on first. But here's the problem. Most people tend to procrastinate on the top 20% of tasks, the high-impact, high-difficulty ones, and instead spend their time on the easier, less important 80%, which contribute very little to their real success. Tracy calls these the trivial many. As a result, many people stay busy all day, but accomplish very little. They feel like they've worked hard, but their progress is minimal. That's because activity is not the same as accomplishment. The truth is, the most valuable tasks you'll ever do are often the most difficult and complex, but they're also the ones that will bring the biggest results and the greatest rewards. That's why Tracy strongly advises this. Never allow yourself to work on tasks in the bottom 80% while there are still tasks in the top 20% left to do. Before starting any task, ask yourself, is this in the top 20% of my activities or in the bottom 80%? Here's the key idea. Whatever you choose to do consistently becomes a habit. If you start your day with easy, low-value tasks, you'll build the habit of always doing just that, wasting time on things that don't matter much. But if you start your day with the most important and challenging tasks, you begin building the habit of high performance and focused productivity. Tracy emphasizes that the hardest part of any important task is simply getting started. But once you begin, something magical happens. Your mind engages. You feel momentum. You get pulled into the task. There's a part of your mind that loves being productive and working on things that make a real difference. Your job is to feed that part of your mind every day. Even just thinking about starting and completing a high-value task gives you motivation and energy. And here's something powerful to remember. The time it takes to complete a valuable task is often the same as the time it takes to complete an unimportant one. The difference is in the feeling you get. When you finish something important, you feel a surge of pride, satisfaction, and motivation. When you finish something trivial, you feel almost nothing. That's why time management is really life management. It's not just about checking off boxes, it's about making choices. And your ability to choose the right task at the right time is the single biggest factor that determines your success in work and in life. Highly effective people develop the discipline to always start with their most important task. They push themselves to eat that frog first, and as a result, they accomplish far more than the average person. and they're happier and more fulfilled because of it. So ask yourself, what's in your top 20% today? And are you ready to start with that?